Welcome, we're about to go live. Hey guys. Welcome, we're about to go live. Well, good afternoon. It is my distinct pleasure to come into your homes as we do the first Tuesday of every month, coming to you live with MCI Live. This is an opportunity where Miami Children's Initiative has an opportunity to share with you things, events, and most certainly our accountability report of the things that's happening in and around Liberty City. I am your host, LaTasha Daniels, President, CEO of the Miami Children's Initiative, and it is always my pleasure to be with you. As we are today, happy Black History Month, right? Listen, even though there has been a slight attack on those things that we call culturally sensitive, those things that we know to be true, those things that we have proudly called African American, it is my distinct pleasure, and as always, to say, with no uncertain terms, listen, we are Black and we proud. And today, as we wear this beautiful kente cloth that shows and demonstrates our history, but most certainly appreciating where we have been, we ascribe to the thought of Marcus Garvey. You cannot appreciate where you are headed without understanding your roots. What do you mean by that, LaTasha? He said it this way: a tree without roots, basically a people without knowledge of where they've been, a people who do not understand are like a tree without roots. And so we understand and appreciate our history today. Well, listen, our studio, we're ready. We have loaded. I have been so excited to pull this particular show together. Having some great men in the studio. I almost was hoping it was June where I could properly appreciate them as fathers of our community, men and pillars of our community. But listen, we're going to start this new year off in Black History Month with them now. But let me start by giving you an accountability report, as we always do, and welcome you for those of you who are watching again online, those of you who are listening on the radio, and those of you who are watching us via Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you for joining us for this. We're going to encourage you to like and subscribe to all of those platforms so that you can continue to hear and know what's happening again with MCI, Miami Children's Initiative, and the events and activities happening around Liberty City. We were so happy on last month to celebrate the life and the legacy of one of our pillars of the community of Liberty City, as a matter of fact, Pastor Reverend Douglas Cook, pastor of the Jordan Grove Missionary Baptist Church, a pillar of the Liberty City community. I want to say he was 96 years young. He was celebrating, and also celebrating 54 years of being the pastor of Jordan Grove. Can you imagine? I said, listen, it's difficult to keep people as being an employer in Liberty City 54 minutes, talking about 54 years. And so we're so happy that he has stood in the gap. He's watched the evolution of Liberty City. He's watched it change. He was also a part of that migration from Overtown into Liberty City. And so it was just a wonderful opportunity to go down history and go down memory lane with Reverend Douglas Cook. We also were happy to share with you, as I have entitled the year for MCI as the year of expansion. We were so happy to have onto our platform on last month Miss Claudette Richardson, our brand new MCI Early Learning and Childhood Manager. She is working with us as one of the 4 pillars of our community, and 4 pillars of our network is relevance as well as relationships. One of those, two of those 4 pillars of our organization is that. And Miss Claudette has joined our team to ensure that the relationship of our Cradle College career, that Cradle component, is strengthened. And we're so happy for that purpose, that she has done just that, joining us to work with all of the early learning providers, all of those childcare workers in Liberty City. If you are listening to us, watching us today, and you are a part of the Liberty City community, and you own a early learning center, old school daycare center, we want you to know that the third Wednesday of every month via Zoom, we meet with you. We average about 40 providers that are on there. You have a sisterhood, a brotherhood there that will help you. DCF is there every month to help you with any code and compliance issues that you may have. They are also able to help you and assist you in any way as it is to maneuver through this work and service through Liberty City. Last but not least, as we continue, I want you to know what's coming up and what has happened. On January 16th, MCI participated in the MLK parade. It was so good to get out there and walk, see our sisters and brothers from other mothers, and to remember, we started that morning off over with the 5,000 role models over on the beach, sharing with Frederica Wilson with the 5,000 role models, watching and seeing how they are doing such a great work and how they were able to induct many members into the Hall of Fame, but also into their brotherhood. And so we were happy to see that with the 5,000 role models. But then we closed the day in some 4-inch heel boots walking the MLK parade. My mom had me laughing, guys. Those who are watching and listening had me laughing that at the senior center at Charles Hadley Park, that's all the people could talk about. Did y'all see that lady in them snakeskin boots walking down MLK parade? Amen. Well, the whole reason for that was I immediately left the event with the Miami Children's Initiative on Facebook. All right, well, enough of us. Now let's talk about these great gentlemen that I got. Girls, I wish y'all was in the room today. I put my good eyelashes on for all these good looking men we got in here today.
Don't make me blush.
I put my good eyelashes on today. I am so happy to kick off this particular show today with a gentleman who is no stranger to our community, especially Liberty City. We are so happy, and listen, he's gonna be like a lightning bolt because he got to preach in just about 20 minutes, and so
I got about an hour.
You got about an hour. Turn your mic on. Turn your mic on. We are so happy to have in this studio today Reverend Richard Dunn, one of our community's own, someone who is familiar with this community, who loves this community. Frederica Wilson, and then came over to the parade, so I didn't have time to change. That's really what it was. But also on the 30th of January, we were so happy. You may not know, but MCI is actually state statute and was created to address the issues of gun violence through a cradle college career concept. We were created by that back in 2008. Back in 2008, we were created to do just that. And now in 2023, we are still standing, and we've got some people who were around the table when this organization was started. We're so happy to have someone who just slipped into this room. But we were so happy to let you know that on January 30th, we had Florida State Senator Chevron Jones, State Representatives Daniel Perez, and Daniel Perez will be the soon coming or incoming House of Representatives or Speaker of the House, as well as our brand new state representative of the area, Ashley Gant. And they conducted a program visit. We were so happy to have them. We hosted them for the day. But at the same day, we were able to feed over 200 families in our bi-monthly food distribution. And so for those who are watching and listening, if you are in need of food every month, we have twice a month, we give out hot meals as well as fresh fruits and vegetables. I want you to contact our office at 786-488-5512. Again, 786-488-5512 to find out more information about that. There's another upcoming food distribution that we're so happy, and we're going to talk to. We got someone locked and loaded in this studio. We're going to talk about a wonderful opportunity that's committed to seniors, and we're so happy to be able to share that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But also on January 31st, as we begin to wrap up kind of our accountability report, because this is what we want you to know so that you're assured and understand what we're doing. On January 31st, we had our high school students at Miami Northwestern. We serve about 30 of them over at Northwestern. We are so happy that they did attend a college tour at the St. Thomas University. Again, we are an organization that is trying to change the narrative around children and families in Liberty City through a cradle college career concept. And we were so happy to introduce St. Thomas University to some of those students. Well, that is the conclusion of our accountability report. And most certainly, if you're interested in knowing, why don't you visit our website at www.miamichildren'sinitiative.com. You always can go again on our social media platform on I Am Liberty City on Instagram and Miami Children's Initiative on Facebook. All right, well, enough of us. Now let's talk about these great gentlemen that I've got. Girls, I wish y'all was in the room today. I put my good eyelashes on for all these good-looking men we got in here today.
Don't make me blush.
I put my good eyelashes on today. I am so happy to kick off this particular show today with a gentleman who is no stranger to our community, especially Liberty City. We are so happy, and listen, he's gonna be like a lightning bolt because he got to preach in just about 20 minutes, and so
I got about an hour.
You got about an hour. Turn your mic on. Turn your mic on. We are so happy to have in this studio today Reverend Richard Dunn, one of our community's own, someone who is familiar with this community, who loves this community, and who has been committed to changing that which those who would try to change what would be progression or even attempt regression, he has always been at the forefront to challenge that. And so it is my pleasure to bring to you on MCI Live, but also to you, this listening and viewing audience, Reverend Richard P. Dunn. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you doing, Miss Daniel?
Listen, we on fire today. I think you are too. I think you were on here a little bit earlier today, weren't you? Listen, I was in the studio. I said, oh my goodness, I walked into the radio station. I said, that sounds like my guest that's going to be on. But that shows the relevance of who you are and the subject matter to which we brought you on here to talk about today. One of the things, we can't celebrate Black History Month and not talk about our own history here in Liberty City. And so since you have most certainly been a part of the Black fabric, that which is the pillars of our community, those your family who were pillars in this community, and how you've continued that legacy. Talk to us a little bit first about who in the world is Richard P. Dunn. And then let's talk a little bit about the progression that you've seen in Liberty City.
Absolutely, and I would be remiss if I didn't give homage to the person sitting to the left of me. Milton Hall and I, we've known each other for over a half a century, and that's a crazy statement, but that's a true and correct statement. When we were growing up in Liberty City, outside of Liberty, whatever you want to call it, unincorporated Dade. Technically, I grew up in the Gladeview area. However, my grandparents lived in the Liberty City area. We attended a school called Holy Redeemer Catholic School.
You don't know nothing about that right there. That, you know what, and let me keep it 100, because I know I'm from around the corner down the street. That's where all the bougie Black people went to school at, because the regular people couldn't afford to go to that kind of school. Go ahead on.
Well, maybe the halls were bougie. I don't know about that.
I had to catch the bus.
Don't believe that. I can remember vividly, and he'll correct me, it was around 1973, 74, when the Ferguson, Hewitt mortuary started.
That was the year I was born, 1973.
That's what we're talking about. I attended the open house. It was on a Sunday, and it was beautiful. But anywho, my parents, the late Richard Paul Dunn Sr., who deceased, passed in 1986 at the tender age of 48 years of age.
My.
And my mother, the late Cecilia Marie Sheffield Dunn, who passed in 2007 at 68 years of age. They both were educators, and they saw at that time what was considered to be a special private education. I don't want to get off it was a private Black education.
Okay.
Because Holy Redeemer was primarily an African-American school. Let me put that in there very quickly.
Yes.
And it was local, and it's still there. The building is still there. The church is still there, right on 71st Street between 14th and 13th Avenue. So we would see the crux of everything down the street from Martin Luther King Elementary down to the east, Miami Northwestern, yay, to the east further. And of course, 15th Avenue. A lot of people don't know about 15th Avenue, but my God, 15th Avenue was nobody's playground. But a lot of famous people came through there, like Flip Wilson came through there and others who launched their careers. And I remember Mom's Kitchen. I don't want to get off on the food tip because I won't stop. So I owe it to my parents for seeing the need to make sure that I got a good education.
Yes.
It continued, and I'm so proud, at the Miami Northwestern Senior High School. Of course, I got more of a good education.
You don't know nothing about that. Northwestern High, we pledge our loyalty.
Come on
Thy
now,
halls of learning filled with
dignity. Thy guiding hand has shaped our destiny. Wherever we roam, we'll call it home.
What is called?
Northwestern.
Where is that?
Our home.
Yeah, if you went to school anywhere else, we so sorry. You had to get an education. But we understand, being from Liberty City, the best side of heaven was at the where we put up them kind of signs that Reverend Dunn is doing for the Facebook Live. All right, there you go. And thank you. I want to call you a Grandmaster, but Mr. Kevin inside for the round of applause. But we got a lot of guests in here. Let me keep us focused where we need to go. Now, we know, of course, here recently, there has been a little bit of an attack, if you will, or come to question of what real African-American studies should be. And what that looks like as it talks, even framing reparations, as well as understanding those who contributed potentially to the civil rights movement. I want you to, since you've been a drum major really in many ways, having a leading baton in Liberty City, what is your thoughts and feelings regarding the current governor's thought process regarding the quieting or the censoring of certain materials as it relates to educating our children? You sit on the Children's Trust Board. Of now. Yes. You sit on the Children's Trust Board. And so you understand the affairs in regards. You work in the education system, and so you are engaged with children. What would you say is the necessity of our response as a Liberty City community?
Well, I believe everything is at stake, period. Because when one attempts to erase or eradicate one's history, that's it. You saw me reflect back on my parents, and I was just getting warmed up.
I know.
But I know we got other things we need to talk about and other guests. Our history is all we have. That's all we have. You know, we reflected on Holy Redeemer Northwestern. I didn't even get a chance to talk about the HBCU, Central State University, where I did my undergraduate on the academic football scholarship. I didn't get a chance to talk about ITC Morehouse School of Religion, where I received my Master's of Divinity degree in Atlanta, Georgia. You know, but at all.
So you're saying all of that framed you to be a commissioner, framed you to be able to stand and have the wherewithal to be able to represent your community at any level.
Absolutely, because when I came back to Miami, South Florida, and saw the condition and the condition of our people, where we were not in high positions and positions of authority and that kind of thing, God had me connect with our dear brother, whose radio station we're in right now, in the New Birth Baptist Church, Bishop Victor T. Curry. And the rest of it was history. And it was on and popping. So now, when someone tries to erase your history, they're trying to take you out. I don't think it's something that could be taken lightly. We got to fight like heaven. And I know we're in the Christian station, so I'm trying my best. We got to fight.
You got to fight like ham sandwiches.
Yeah, we got to
fight.
Everything on the line, man. The nerve of you, Governor Ron DeSantis. Who you think you are? But now let's not get taken away by the smoke screen of all of this.
Yes, because it's being said even in the article that came out about how the AP courses have now been modified in order to continue to be relevant in this particular governor's tenure, if you will. But what is happening in response? Because I believe something's happening on the 15th of February. You want to talk to us about that?
Absolutely. There was a clarion call made yesterday evening by the great Reverend Al Sharpton of NAN and the NAACP, and over 300 pastors, along with Bishop Curry, who is the regional director of NAN, to do a march on Tallahassee on February the 15th.
Okay.
And that's necessary to show him, because it's deeper than the AP African American Studies course. I mean, that's important. This is an assault on a people, and he's using or attempting to use black people as political pawns to show the rest of the country. Let me show y'all how to keep the Negroes in check. I'm gonna show y'all how we do it. The devil is a lie, a bald-faced lie. It ain't gonna happen, Ron.
I hear you. And so here we are, and here we sit today as representatives of those children that we serve in this community. And I'm very clear in understanding and knowing that in order for children or people to know where they're going, they have to appreciate where they have been. And so it is our goal and our desire for all of our children, and most certainly to give voice to people like you of Liberty City, to hear that which would impact. And so, Reverend Dunn, I want to thank you so much for an understanding and knowing who you are and what you have represented to this community, but also to allow, when our children watch this, because they do get a chance to watch our podcast, for them to see examples in the community of how they can express themselves. And it doesn't have to be in a violent way, but it can be articulated in a manner in which you can say that I want to be heard, that I am valued, and I mean something. Anything else before we move on to our next guest?
Yes, very quickly. In all of that wagon that he's trying to load up, Black Lives Matter is a part of that. I mean, anything activism is a part of that. Social justice is a part of that. If you remember, he attempted to have a law that was passed by the legislature. It's not just about African American history. It's an assault. It's a bullying attempt and assault on black people. Remember the anti-protest bill? That was designed to keep blacks from protesting. That's almost back like on the plantation when they used to say, okay, you can't gather, but only on Sunday mornings. I think if 2 or more people gathered, they tried to stop it. And so if we're not careful, they're trying to, if a person doesn't know their history, they're bound to repeat it. That's the bottom line. We have to know our history. And guess what, I'm glad you talked about the children. Children, we owe it to you.
Absolutely. Because
our parents made sure they sacrificed to try to give us a better world. And so now we've got to sacrifice to make sure that we give you a better world.
Thank you so much, Reverend Dunn. And so again, just appreciating Black History Month and appreciating where we have been, most certainly, and knowing that we still have, beyond the Dr. Kings and beyond, we've had our Gwen Cherries and we've also had our Richard Dunns. And so thank you so much for being with us. We're going to take a quick break, and after that, we're going to come back and we're going to talk to another pillar of this community, Mr. Milton Hall, a gentleman who is the owner of the Hall, Ferguson, and Hewitt Mortuary. He stands on the shoulders of some great men, but I tell you, he's taken the baton and he's running with it. We'll be right back right after these brief messages. All right, guys. So I don't know what's happening. Hey, Facebook. It looks like for those who are watching, hey guys, how you doing? We're doing our best. Looks like we've got multiple streams happening, but I hope everybody's well. Let me let y'all see so you're not just looking at me. Look at that. Wave at him, Reverend Dunn. Wave at him. Wave at him. There's Milton Hall right there. Listen, you guys don't even know who this guy is, but he's going to be introduced. That's Mr. Morris. And there's that guy right there, listen, who's bringing the heat over there, right? Or trying to keep them from giving us heat. Let me say it that way, Mr. Rodney Jacobs. All right. So what we're going to do, Mr. Hall, we're going to come into you right after that. after we come back from break. And you just ride with us, Reverend Dunn. If you got to ease out of here, then you do that, okay? But you sure enough sugar shy there, bro. That beige and peach,
You think so?
That's open. Well, ain't that pretty over there, y'all? That's pretty. Let me see your socks you got on there. Yeah, you might.
I got a little something.
The wife did you all right there, young man. She got you right. You know they say men are colorblind. Y'all think that's true?
Yeah, that's probably true. With me.
That's probably true. All right. And I've got Deacon Hall's look. See, look, I said Deacon Hall. I'm gonna call you Deep before it's over. There it is. I got your file here. All right, Mr. Morris, switch out with. Listen, you hold in part. If you switch out with Mr. Jacobs, we'll conclude with you. All right. How you feeling? You good?
I'm good.
You good? All right, guys. See what's happening here. Put my earphones back on. There you go. Yeah. I don't know why this mic is fighting me today.
Don't let it win. Don't let it win.
Maybe. I don't know. I gotta do it this way. But I don't think that's it either. How you feel? You good? You need some water?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. So hospitable today.
Listen, you trying to make me a little heart palpitate. I say nothing now. I know he gonna ease in. Did you have difficulty, or you knew where you were going?
I knew where it was.
Okay.
You got concerned.
Of course I did.
Listen. You know, I used to be early to everything in Miami when I first moved here, and then I understood that made people uncomfortable. Like, why is this man so early? Because it's not the Miami way to be on time today.
Right, but then that's the military in you.
It is.
Yes.
It's
Now, do you guys know Rodney?
I don't believe we met.
Do you know?
Right.
Rodney is heading the Civil Investigative Panel.
I was a part of the first board
Is
that
that
was
right?
created by the late Arthur E. Till Jr.
There it is.
Where Larry Hanfield was the chairman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah. Hey guys.
Congratulations to
Thank
you.
you. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah,
Awesome.
man.
And I did 7 years in internal affairs, Miami-Dade.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So that's the balance of this, right? Listen, we're gonna talk about what he's doing,
That's how
but we're gonna talk about his history, where he come from.
Listen, we're gonna have a good old time there.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Joseph. Hey, Jessica. Hey, Mr. Nesbitt. Long time. All right. So it looks like we'll go back on at 2:30. I very well may have 2 lives running right now on my page.
By accident.
Huh?
I've done that before.
Yeah, I don't even know how, because what I did was I scheduled it and then it didn't go live.
Yeah. And then you had to do it live, and then the schedule kicked on.
Yeah.
I've done that.
All right. Well, welcome back. Those who are watching, those who are listening. I, again, am so happy to be able to come to you once a month for this monthly podcast right here at WMBM. Thankful to Bishop Curry and to all those who administratively make this happen. Again, Latasha Daniels, CEO of Miami Children's Initiative, and we're going to jump right back into where we were. I am so happy now to bring on this side of the show Mr. Milton Hall. I got to hold the mic out. For those who are watching, don't laugh at me. Look at my glasses hanging up. But I am so happy to bring to you today someone who is a quiet storm. We'll say it that way. Someone who's been a pillar, but listen, he is the owner of the Hall, Ferguson, and Hewitt mortuary right there in the smack in the heart of Liberty City. If you think about Liberty City, that is one of the landmarks. That's one of the pillars. Oh, go right down there past Hall, Ferguson, and then make a left right there past, and so we are so happy to have this young man, Milton Hall. He and just reading from what was on the website, this particular funeral home service, if you will, were done by 3 young morticians who possessed the desire and had an interest to function in a more independent way. And so, organized initially in 1970 by Milton Hall, our guest's father, Tony E. Ferguson, and Elmer Hewitt, they started on June 24th, 1973. That's something you just said.
Wow.
1973,
Wow.
You had it right there. I was just a month shy of me being born, so I wasn't even here. But listen, so that means you are coming on the eve of your 50th anniversary. And what an amazing, amazing moment for the organization. But more importantly, we are here today to celebrate how when we talk about generational wealth and we talk about legacy builders, that is exactly what this company did. And we are today so proud to have the son of one of those founders, Milton Hall II. I won't say Junior, but Milton Hall II. Yes. Come on, pull that mic closer to you so we can celebrate you and say to you, welcome, Mr. Hall.
Good evening, Minister Daniels. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, so listen, he put the cat out the bag, y'all. We know each other from church. All right, this is to me Deacon Milton Hall. He is actually the head of the Deacons Ministry there at the Antioch Church of Miami Gardens. So not only a man committed to business, but he's also a man committed to God. And I tell you, I think that's a winning combo when you got God and business together.
Yes.
What you say?
Yes, it is.
Very, very good. Now, you're not going to give me no one answers. Now, you got to say yes. Listen, and he is a very astute businessman. And so tell us a little bit, something about yourself, aside from the fact that you like riding Harleys. I mean, I don't know if you wanted that out there yet. But tell us a little bit something about Milton.
Together back in the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't fortunate enough to go to Miami Northwestern.
Oh, so sorry. So sorry.
However, I have a lot of friends that attended there.
Mm-hmm.
My dad and his partners, Milton Hall and Tony Ferguson and Elmer Hewitt, back in the early 70s, decided they wanted to open their own funeral home. They both worked together at one point with Range, House of Albert, and other local black funeral homes.
Oh my goodness, you said House of Albert. Yes. Did you go back and saying that?
Yes, yes.
Uh-huh.
And when my dad and them opened, I was a little kid. I wasn't even driving at the time. And they had their first funeral. I was washing the cars. That's how I started, washing the cars.
Uh-huh.
They had their first funeral service, and I wanted to attend. I wanted to work with this funeral service. My dad looked at me and he said, "Son, you can't work the service." I was hurt.
Uh-huh.
I was like, "You're the owner. Why can't I work the service?" He said, "I want you to know this business from the ground up." I didn't understand it at the time, but to this day, I thank God for that because I've learned so much. There is nothing there that I haven't done that I ask anyone else to do that I haven't done.
Right.
I went to school. I went to Lynn University for mortuary science as well as Miami-Dade Community College. And since then, my dad started building a legacy. And they both have passed. All three of them have passed away. It's kind of left to me now.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking during the holidays, how everyone is out giving and feeding those who are hungry and what have you. And I said, I want to add to the legacy. I think I would like to feed those who are in need of a hot meal, at least give them one meal, a good hot meal. And I thought about it, and I was like, there are a lot of people who are not homeless, but with the price of eggs and groceries and what have you, they can't afford a lot of food. They can't afford a good meal. So I thought
I had half of a basket of grocery and was over $100.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So I said, you know what, maybe it'd be a good idea to give back to the community and provide a hot meal for those seniors and those who have a home but necessarily not having a good meal. So I partnered with a local food caterer, and on March the 1st,
you got it.
Okay, in conjunction with the MCI, we're going to present over 200 hot meals to those in the community.
That's beautiful.
We're going to have food trucks on the premises to cook the food right then and there, the hot meal, and also there we get a fruit basket. So this is our first time doing this, and we want to see where it goes from there. I have visions and plans to make it to expand it, But we starting small now. We're starting with the first 200 folks that come up, and we're going to, like I said, provide them with a hot meal and offer a food basket.
Well, we are so happy to be able to be a part of this partnership. We're so happy, Deacon Hall, Owner Hall, that you tapped us to say, listen, not only am I in the community, but I want to give back to this community. And so we're happy. We are already twice a month giving out hot meals. But what a way to elevate it with a designated audience. You want to go to those seniors. And we're so happy to be able to partner with you on March 1st, that we'll be able to do that right there at the Hall, Ferguson, and Hewitt mortuary services. Now, what's that address?
The address is 1900 Northwest 54th Street, Miami, Florida, 33142.
And we're looking to start that. We've kind of gone back and forth between 9 and 10 o'clock, but I'm going to let you make the official announcement. What time are we getting started?
We're going to start at 10 a.m.
We're going to start at 10.
It should be more like a brunch type meal.
Yes. And so you see Liberty City's community on so many levels, right?
Yes.
You get a chance. You see the good, the bad, and unfortunately the very ugly of the community.
Yes.
Even recently, within the, I would say, year or so, just doing your service, there was a drive-by shooting at your or near and around your services. How have you weathered the storm and staying, keeping your feet on the ground and serving the Liberty City residents?
Well, I think because of the foundation my father knows set years ago, a lot of folks in the neighborhood have respect for the business, the facility, and the fact that we're there in the community to help. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And by the way, that incident you're referring to really wasn't a drive-by. It was a domestic that was brought there because of the funeral service. Okay. So it really had nothing to do with the area. That particular incident was going to occur wherever the service was happening. Wherever the particular parties that was involved were. It just so happened to be across the street from the funeral home. Understood.
But I think that speaks to dignity and service for you to even be able to elevate it to that, but also to recognize that when they come into your care, when people walk through your doors, they're at so many emotional levels, mental health, emotional health. How do you keep you and your staff balanced to serve the community? Because often Liberty City has been tied to one of those crime spots. And so in being in the community, you often see the results of some of those crimes. How have you been able to just provide a level of dignity and peace or solace to individuals in those kind of moments?
Well, once again, all of my training has come from the founders, my father, Mr. Ferguson, Mr. Hewitt. I keep saying that because that's where I learned from. They taught me really well. And one thing I have stressed, and I even pass on to my staff, is that everyone grieves differently. And they are angry, they're upset, but they're not necessarily angry and upset with you. Right. That's their way of handling their emotions. So we have to be very cognizant of that and just treat everyone with care, regardless of their anger or whatever their emotional feelings at the time. Okay. So I stress that a lot and I share with them that, hey, this is our job, but this is their first time experience. And we have to treat them as such.
Listen, we actually got a caller. We got a caller calling in. So let's hear from me. Right before we go to that caller, though, I do want to talk, because that's going to lead us into Mr. Rodney Jacobs, who's sitting here in the studio with us. Prior to making this a full-time gig for you, I won't call it a gig, but full-time service to the community, you had an opportunity to do some other work. What was that? You were what they would call bivocational in working at the funeral home, but also doing something else. You were serving the community in another way. What was that?
Yes, I was a police officer for 27 years. I did 13 years on the motorcycle squad.
Oh, that's where that Harley love come from.
My last 7 years on the department, I was with Internal Affairs. At that point in time, under the leadership of Director Parker. Okay.
So that was Miami-Dade County.
Miami-Dade County, yes. And at that time in Internal Affairs, they didn't have a lot of investigators that looked like us.
What does that mean?
They didn't have a lot of black investigators.
Thank you.
Who come right back into the community and investigate those who do wrong. I personally, at the time, once again, didn't understand. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go back to riding motorcycles.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
The director Parker at the time told me I needed you over there.
Wow.
And I think that was one of the best moves I've ever made because I was able to make a difference with the investigations being fair and impartial. And then not only that, also making a difference within the community because those who come in or call and make a complaint, they actually speak to someone, an investigator who looks like them.
Interesting, because that is a great segue into an article that Drew, that really frames a good portion of what we're going to close this show out with. And that is the thought process when you're blue before you're black. And so let's take this call, and then that'll be a great way to introduce Mr. Rodney Jacobs, the head of the Civil Investigative Panel for City of Miami, and talk a little bit about this recent incident with Tyree Nichols and what that looks like and how that would play, Reverend Dunn, and to you, Mr. Hall, on how we frame this better. All right, let's have this caller. Hello? Yeah, we're ready. Come on in. Good afternoon. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And I'm so sorry. I didn't get your name. Tell us your name. Miss Book. Go ahead. Gotcha. So Miss Booker, why don't we do this? We're going to get your information. We're going to have someone, we're going to take you off live. And we're going to get you our information so you can talk to us directly, because some of the issues you're raising absolutely are true to what is happening in and around Liberty City. And as I'm sure a resident of Liberty City, we want to give you an opportunity and a platform to be properly heard. But we were kind of, talking today about the impact of those pillars of our community, and most certainly looking to also talk about what's happening in and around our policing of our community. And so to talk about this land issue and economic empowerment and housing, we want to give you a platform. And so someone from the staff is going to take your information so that we can call you when we're off this call. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right. And we're going to bring this up right now because we've got Mr. Rodney Jacobs of the Civic Investigative Panel who can begin to talk to that. Thank you so much, Ms. Booker, for calling. We'll get your information and we'll reach out. Have a blessed day, okay? Okay. All right, Mr. Jacobs, I think that leads us right to where we need to be with your article that was written about what it looks like, or when is it better to be blue than black, or I hope I'm not saying that incorrectly, but an implication or a suggestion in your article talked about the call for more people of color or more people who look like their community to be in that community, But it seems that statistics didn't always reflect that that was the best scenario for the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And first and foremost, thanks for having me on the show.
Yes.
It's been a little bit since I'm able to get back here. So I always say every opportunity that is out there is an opportunity to do good. So anytime the sun comes up, we're able to turn the page and kind of talk about these issues. It's always worth getting around the table to do so.
Well, I think I better stop and let the people know who you are. Rodney, introduce yourself a little bit. Tell them who you are.
No worries. So my name is Rodney Jacobs. I'm the Executive Director for the City of Miami Civilian Investigative Panel. That panel was instituted in the early 2000s through ordinance revision and then a charter referendum, obviously. And so we've been doing really good work in the city over the last 20 or so years, and we service a 13-member panel that comes out of the city of Miami. We hear cases both directly submitted to us and through internal affairs via audit, and we submit those cases to our panel for recommendations to the police department. So we do a lot of different work. We also have a mediation program that has a lot of good outcomes. I like to call it community policing on steroids.
Okay.
Arrested or yelled at. So I think we're doing a lot of great work in the community, and as I said already, anytime the sun comes up, it is a good opportunity to do good work in our community. So we're just
Rodney, let me just cut across the grass. You are military, and you have come to us. You have not only public health and a public administration master's, but you also have a Juris Doctorate. You are an attorney.
You just told all of your viewers that I have a bunch of student loan debt. That's all that was right there. I appreciate it.
Yes, have a beautiful wife, a beautiful baby,
Yes.
and so just well-rounded and planted in this community. And so to be the executive director in the wake of George Floyd, where there is a question about how we properly police this community and understand Tyree Nichols and moments like that just happened. And so I want to hear your thoughts regarding the kind of the base of the article written in the Miami Herald. And I want to hear from Reverend Dunn and Mr. Hall. Again, Mr. Hall being a former IA. Did I say that right?
You did.
Wow, I did my homework. Being former IA and being in Liberty City and serving, and then Reverend Dunn, who has seen some things, has lived through the McDuffie riots and all of that has framed how we do work and services here. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, obviously after the Tyree Nichols beating, I authored an op-ed in the Herald that really talked about, because it was a swarming conversation about how these 5 officers that engaged in this beating were African Americans. And it really brought into my mind a conversation I had early on when I started this work as the assistant director at that time with a black female officer in the City of Miami Police Department who said, in this work, it's better to be blue than to be black.
There it is. It's better to be blue than black. See, I was slaughtering it, but I knew what I was trying to say.
We got you, sis. We got you. And so really, she was not only hinting at the career progression for black people within the department, but she was also talking about the culture. And so I really wanted to author a piece that gave a light to what the culture is, because obviously as outsiders, we're looking at those black police officers and we say, oh, how could you do this to your own people? And you often hear in the community, if we only had more black cops, we would get less.
We just heard it. We
right?
just heard the lady on the radio say
Exactly,
it.
And we also hear that, hey, if we had more people that lived in our geographical space, right? Because just because you're black doesn't mean you're from Liberty City or from the city of Miami.
Or even
right?
understand what happens in Liberty City.
Exactly. So you will hear both, the race and then also the geographical address. And so I often heard that, but the data just doesn't show that to be true. I mean, and once again, I cited this in the article as well. You can look no further than Philadelphia, Atlanta, and Chicago,
right? For
cities that are overwhelmingly majority cities, and also have an overwhelming amount of black officers, and their use of force and abusive conduct is just as high as any other police department.
So let me ask you, Deacon Hall and Reverend Dunn, what was your initial response when you saw the Tyree Nichols? Let me hear from you quickly.
Well, it made me sick to my stomach.
And why is that?
Because I personally have never witnessed or saw anything like that. And immediately my thought was that's something personal.
It seemed to be personal.
It seemed to be personal. That was my thought. And that was, after a while, I just stopped watching it. Because once again, I know the NFL had a commercial, if I could be you, you could be me, walk a mile in my shoes.
Right.
I think about if that was my child walking home and all he did was, I don't know, ran out of fear. I don't know, whatever it was, it didn't deserve but he didn't deserve what he had.
Gotcha. What about you, Reverend Dunn?
It perplexed me, it angered me, it frustrated me, and I concur with Mr. Hall. Milton, almost 13 years ago, when I was City of Miami Commissioner for District 5, and there were 7 black unarmed men shot and killed by Cuban American police officers.
Yes.
Needless to say, we pressed to get Chief Miguel Exposito fired.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and we took a hit. Let me fast forward because I don't want to get too long-winded. I am a preacher, so I kind of get caught up sometimes. And we had the community come out and support. Bishop let me come on the station and vent. My son in the ministry, Pastor Chief Dennis Jackson, the second, actually marched with us when we marched from the police station to Overtown, where some of the shootings occurred. They all occurred in Liberty City, Overtown, in Little Haiti. I didn't get him fired because I couldn't get a second, but later on, Commissioner Michelle Smith-Jones came in, and she was able to get the votes with Commissioner Gord and Commissioner, at the time, Francis Suarez.
Gotcha.
Point in case, though, I got to say this. It was troubling for me because a lot of the shootings are somewhat split second. I'm not saying justifiable, but this beating of Tyree Nichols seemed to be more premeditated,
more calculated. It seemed, and to know he was just a few feet away
Yeah.
from his mother's home, and for him again to cry out for mom, you have to know that rings deep for us. So let me hear from an investigative panel perspective. What is City of Miami put in place, or in moments like this, what would have been the processes so that we better understand the work that you're doing at the investigative panel level and things like that? Share with us what would have been the course, or what's the course of action?
Yeah, well, really, to be quite frank with you, I would hope that a case like this never gets to our panel. Not because we wouldn't want it to happen, but really we would want our district and state attorneys to step up and press charges, right? So we look at cases, obviously, without so much of the criminal element. We will refer cases if they're directly filed to us that have a criminal component to the state attorney directly. But typically, if there is a criminal element and there will be some sort of grand jury indictment, we wouldn't press forward with our investigation at the time because we would not want to interfere with that investigation.
Well, let me say this. Maybe I'm the one who needs to go to a few more levels of schooling, but it just seems like our brothers found out that it wasn't all right to be blue than black. Because when, where is all of the PBA and all of those other organizations that have stood around other officers? Where's the GoFundMe pages for these young men, right? When it seemed that there was a matter that needed to be defended. In this moment when, and no reflection on those 3 letters that you are wearing on your lapel, sir. But to know that
you put it out there, you might as well they can see what everybody.
You gotta give us some context.
I gotta let. All right, he's wearing
context.
Omega Psi Phi. He's a part of the Divine Nine, or the Black Fraternal Organization. Many of these young men were educated young men. They were a part of the Divine Nine.
Were.
Yeah. Oh, they've been excommunicated.
Forever.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know that.
Well, we can't tolerate that.
Yes. And so to know where there was brotherhood that is taught and all of that, it is interesting to hear and understand where we go from here. And so, Deacon Hall, as we kind of close out, what would you ideally like to see in moments like this? Where, again, you said it seemed personal. You said in your watch, how many years were you on the force?
27.
You never saw anything. You never investigated anything to this level.
Never.
Yes.
Never. I personally think that it was someone within that Scorpion group who was the leader of all of those other officers, and that they felt impelled to kind of like
follow their leader. I would have loved to see just one of them, just one, say it's enough, step in, stop. Right. I'm listening, Rodney. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I totally agree, and I'm sure if you've been in the police department 27 years as a black man, I'm sure there was countless times where, you wanted to change something or do something different. And it's hard to do so just because of the systematic approach that is designed around policing culture. And I'm not saying that those 5 officers are absolved of doing something, because there is some sort of duty to intervene when you see hardship going. But just talking from an administrative point of view, as just a Black officer in that culture, those things are very, very difficult to do. But I will say this to your point, and this is something that I wrote about in the article as well, is that typically when these things happen for Black and brown officers on the force, there isn't that galvanizing support around them from the unions, from the PBAs, even from the state or district attorneys. And so then they're kind of left out.
Nor are things moved as quickly as they were moved.
Yeah, I mean, you see typically when an officer is suspended, it's with pay. It's where this officer's union rights. It's a whole host of trying to change the narrative. But here we saw things expedite pretty fast. And when I listen to the community members, and I often don't point to this, but I thought it was necessary to do so in this context. But, you would see people comment, well, isn't justice in any capacity good enough, right?
Right.
We shouldn't make any racial differences between, quick justice for a Black person because this is what you guys want, just from policing in general. And so for there, I'm not saying that that's wrong, but I am saying, what does equity of justice look like in that sense, right? Because
can we even use that word in Florida anymore?
Well, we should be able to.
Right.
Especially when you're talking about policing, because it underscores the notion that police departments do know what right looks like when these things happen, right? Even when
they're trained to know what right looks like.
Not even in the sense of the action in and of itself. I'm talking about in the aftermath of it all, right? So, obviously, typically in these situations, you'll see the chief or the mayor or whomever come out that's a part of the municipality and say, let the investigation take hold. We didn't see that here.
Not at all.
Right. And so that not only is a racial thing, but like I said, it underscores that departments know what right looks like, right?
I hear you.
It's not necessarily just about the officers in the sense of in the beating of Tyree Nichols, but it's also in the aftermath of the police department knowing how to get officers that are problems out of the force. All
right, come on, you got 30 seconds, sir. Let me hear your point. You want to say something, Reverend Dunn?
Let's not forget that the leadership of the Memphis Police Department was a Black female sister.
So you think that was what that's what expedited
We tend to be
it?
very fair and righteous in a lot of ways. Let me just say this very quickly. Back during those shootings in the city of Miami, and you can check it out, Mr. Jacobs, I reached out to Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, and we got from the Department of Justice a consent decree on the city of Miami's police department. And that's why it may have been lifted now. It was for about 5 or 10 years. I can't remember. But that's why you didn't hear about a lot of shootings and police brutality in Miami for a long time, because they know Big Brother was watching them.
Okay. Yeah. Well, listen, this has been an amazing moment. Rodney Jacobs, let's talk and tell. Go win it on that street.
Let me take those battles for you. Yeah.
Well, listen, this has been an amazing moment. Rodney Jacobs, let's talk to the people and tell them how they can reach out to you if something happens on the streets, they're not sure. Yeah. How do they report it? What do they say as we close out very quickly?
Well, the first thing I always lead off with is that your life is more important than ever having any conflict with a police officer. You're not going to win any battles on the street.
Go get it home. It's not going to, you're not going to win it on that street.
Let me take those battles for you, because if you try to do them on your own, there won't be any equity or equal level playing field. So definitely contact me at our office. You can go on our website, which is miamigov.com/CIP. You can call me directly at 305-960-4951. You can reach out to me on social media at rwjacobsjr. So, our office
and we'll
is
put
open.
that information up for
Absolutely.
people to see that.
Exactly. Our office is open every day. So if you want to file a complaint, or, if you want someone to file a complaint on your behalf, we take complaints in any way.
All right. And Mr. Hall, what day is that? March 1st?
Yes, March 1st at 10 a.m.
1900 Northwest?
54th Street.
Northwest 54th Street. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much. Listen, we had one more guest, Mr. Morris, who will come back to us next month to talk about our brand new program director. He's so happy you've been holding it down. We'll highlight you next month. All right, guys, happy Black History Month. Thank you again. See you March 1st. And again, Mr. Jacobs' information will be on our website and our information. But also, thank you, Reverend Dunn, for joining us today. All right, guys, see you next month. Again, Latasha Daniels, Miami Children's Initiative. Have a great day.